Hold on. All right. So, looking up here. So, I want to talk to you for a minute about these two words. Dependent variable, independent variable. So, let's pretend let's not talk about math at all. What does the word dependent, raise your hand, versus independent mean to you? Xavier.
Like if you're independent,
You're what?
if you're independent, you're like lonely.
Okay, it could be. That's one way to say it. Xander?
In my personal opinion, independent means that you need others to survive.
Okay. I like what Xander just said. Are you listening? He said you need others to kind of survive. So let's talk about that. So your parents have jobs, they make money, and they have to pay taxes on the money that they earn, right? So April and March is the month where your parents, you're hearing them talk about, I have to file my taxes, right? Get income tax return. So on the income tax form, there is a box that says, how many dependents do you have? You guys all are dependents because last I checked, you don't pay the mortgage. Yeah, you don't have to make sure there's food in the fridge. You, depend on your parents for that, right? Or grandma or grandpa or whoever. You depend on them, so you are a dependent of theirs, okay? They are independent because they don't have, I'm an independent. I'm the one who has to buy the food. I can't go to my mom and say, Mom, pay for me anymore because I'm a 41-year-old woman and I'm not a dependent anymore. Okay, so dependent means you depend on something. So, I want you to think about in terms of the problems that we've done. I'm going to read you a problem. Olivia always charges the same rate for babysitting, and on Saturday, she babysat for 5 hours, and she walked out of there with $30. So, tell me the first thing that comes to your mind right away. What do you know right away? Raise your hand. You know the
Cost.
That she charges per
6 hours.
She earns $6 an hour. You know that based on that information. Do you remember in 3-1 when I had you do a unit rate problem? I had you box out the two things we were comparing. So go ahead and take your pencil. It doesn't have to be red. And I want you to put a box around the dollar sign and the box around the hours. Okay? Circle is fine. So, what are the two variables being compared? I'm comparing dollars to hours. Remember when I made you do that? Okay? I even made you write it like this. I even made you write the word dollar or the sign in the word hour, didn't I? Then when you found the unit rate, you had to do 30 divided by 5, and as the unit rate, remember you had to write you didn't like it, but you had to put that. That's the unit rate. Everybody agree on that? This girl, right now, what we know is she charges $6 an hour. Okay. The only thing we don't know that we haven't learned yet is what independent variable and what the dependent variable is. One of these is the dependent and one is the independent. So I'm going to ask you a little common sense question. Which one of these depends on the other? I'm going to say two statements, and you're going to, in your head, see which one makes more sense. The number of hours that she works depends on how much she makes, or how much she makes depends on how much she works.
Yep. The
Second one makes more sense. The amount of money, go ahead Christian, explain it.
Because you work more hours to make more money.
Yes. So the amount of money that you make, listen, depends on how many hours. If you work 2 hours, she earns 12. If she works 10, she earns 60, right? So, I'm going to say that again. And I want you to write it right here. The money that she makes depends on how many hours she works. You get paid according to the time you put in, right? Depends on the number of hours she works. So, guess what? If the money depends on the hours, then the money is the dependent, right? So I'm going to look at dependent and I'm going to put money because that's what depends. Here's the deal. Don't worry, I'm not, on our next test, I'm not going to ask you to define these or anything. It's just a good thing to kind of talk about. So the hours is what is the independent, okay? So let's go up to the top after we have all that and fill in these 4 boxes. We're going to just do it quickly, okay? So, unit rate, let's start with the easiest. We know what a unit rate is. It means how much for 1. What's that? How much for 1? So, meaning, look, $6 for 1. That's what it looks like as a unit rate. Constant of proportionality, hey, I want you to put a big old equal sign. Because you do know that the unit rate and the constant of proportionality is just 2 different ways to say the same thing. If I say, hey guys, what's the unit rate? 6. Hey guys, what's the constant of proportionality? 6. Okay? Except we don't write constant of proportionality like this. We write it like this, right? Remember from yesterday? Y equals kx. So I want you to do this. I want you to put y equals kx. And today, you're going to see something that says not y equals kx, y equals ax. Why? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they just like messing with you. K, sometimes A, sometimes I kind of feel like if it was constant of proportionality, why don't they just use C? But they don't. So I need you guys to know that if it's an A or a K, it still means the same thing. So for this particular example, this is it written as a unit rate, but this is it written as a constant of proportionality. So it depends on how it's written is what you call it, okay? So let's just really quickly define independent and dependent. The dependent depends on the other variable. Okay, and for the sake of time, we're just going to the dependent depends on the other one. And then if the dependent depends on the other one, the independent is determined by the other one, right? Determined by the other one, the other variable. Here's what I mean by that. While you're writing it, do your best to copy and listen. The amount of money that they make is going to depend on how many hours, okay? So here's what I want you to write right now. The dependent variable, and this might be the most important thing I say to you today, is always going to be your y axis, meaning your independent variable, whichever one is not the dependent one, will go on your x-axis. So let's use that information to fill out your green sheet right now. So the independent goes on the x, the dependent goes on the y. So let's take a look at the green one. So notice from yesterday when we did our interactive notebook, there were 3 tabs that you had to flip, right? And one of the tabs was table, one was equation, one was graph. What's on the green sheet right now? Table, equation, and graph. So let's do it, okay? So I'll go back to that in a minute if you need it. Olivia always charges the same. We just read this. So the first thing I want you to do when you have a blank table is put that. Okay? Oh, this is so helpful because now I know that the x is the, and you may need to flip back. The x is the independent, right? So if my x is my independent, that's going to be, the dependent is your money, right? So your money depends on the time. So your time is this. You want a big hint? 95% of the time, your y is going to be your money. Because your money depends on everything. Your money depends on how many hours you work. How many of you get paid for A's on your report card? $20 an A from grandparents, right? So the amount of money... Yeah, get beaten. Your amount of money depends on your grades, right? So your grades would be your independent. Okay, ready? Shh. Okay, so we're going to stop talking so we can finish. So here's the deal with Olivia. If she doesn't go to work and she doesn't get a babysitting job on the weekend, how much will she earn? Zero. Okay, that's pretty convenient because yesterday Mrs. Z told us when we were filling this table out that a proportional relationship is always what? Can you read that? And it goes through the origin. So you know what? In your table, I had better see that. I had better see 0, 0. You know what else I want to see in your table? Your unit rate. For 1 hour, she earns $6, Michael. And that means then common sense says if she works 2 hours, she'll earn 12. Okay, stop right there though, because on the test Thursday, it's not just going to go, I'm going to give you all these. I might say, what if she works 40, or what if she earns $48? Oh, that must mean that she worked what? 8 hours. What if she works, that's why I said don't fill it in. What if she works 10? Then she's walking away with $60. And what if she has $66? She must have worked 11 hours. Okay, so I want to point something out right here. The only operation you used when you made that table was either multiplying or dividing. You said, oh, if I'm given this, I'm going to multiply it by 6. Oh, if I was given this, I had to divide by 6. So do you understand why when you write the equation, there can't be any plus or minus after? Yes? Remember that? Remember yesterday when I showed you this sheet that said, hey guys, when you write the equation, make sure there's nothing after it. Yes? Okay, good. So, continuing on. Let's make a graph. So, let's make our axes. I only need quadrant 1 because I don't need any negative quadrants. Here's where the fun part comes in. X, that's my x-axis, right? Because the y is to the sky. Shoot, I know graphs need titles. I don't know what one to put where. Here's what your hint is going to be. What did I say your x-axis was? The independent. So I want you to put the word independent here. This is your dependent. And if your x, guess what? Your table is really helpful. Your x is hours and your y is dollars. Time is almost always going to be on your x-axis. Time is almost always your independent. Put a $sign here. Man, it would be nice if they gave us some axes that are labeled, but they're not. So you know what I'm going to do? And I like to spread my graph out because I don't like it when it's all cramped up. I'm going to skip 1. That's 2. I'm going to make that 3. I'm going to make that 4. And that's going to be 5. And I'm also going to go by 10s here. I'm going to make this 10, this $20, this 30, this 40, and this 50. So now when I go to plot my points, look what happens. What point needs to be on this graph for it to be a proportional relationship? 0, 0. Awesome. Straight line now. So let's look. 1 hour, 6. Well, if that's 5, 6 is just going to be a little bit above it, right? We are kind of eyeballing this, guys. 2 hours would be 12. Well, if that's 10, 2 would be a little above it. 3 hours would be 18, which is going to be a little under 20. 4 will be 24, which is going to be a little under here. And then 5 will be 30. Remember yesterday when I asked you, if I put my ruler down, do you think every single point will touch it? It had better, because it's a proportional relationship. Okay, and I'm going to put an arrow there because that's going to keep going. The more hours she works, that amount just keeps increasing by the same amount. Okay. The equation might very well be the easiest of the three. What is your magic number? What's the unit rate? 6. Write your equation. Write what equation you think that would be. Using the constant of proportionality. Replace the A with what? 6. With 6. That is so seriously it. Maybe it might be helpful to make that like this way. Okay. So if you have a highlighter, awesome, get it out. If you don't worry about it. You can just circle it. I want to show you that the 6 is the boss. The 6 shows up in every single one of these things. Here, I could just flat out see it. There's my constant of proportionality. Where do you see it in the table? Yeah. And oh, by the way, what's it paired with? The 1. Yeah, I know. That's because it's a unit rate. And where is it in your graph? The 1, comma, 6. Unit rate, right here, constant of proportionality, unit rate, there it is. Okay? So, here's what I'm going to give to you. I want you to try to just get one of these done, okay? This is more examples. There's 4 of them. Try to get 1 or 2 done. Hey, Michaela babysat for 4 hours. She earned $22. What's the independent and the dependent? What's the unit rate? How much does she earn? Fill it out. Make a graph. Do your equation. Got it? All right. And I know that